This is Candid Campus, Profiles in Higher Education, presented jointly by the Higher Education Alumni Council of Oklahoma and the Oklahoma College Public Relations Association. The discussion today is on the micro world of electronics. Your host is Dr. Richard W. Poole, Vice President for University Relations, Development, and Extension, Oklahoma State University.
Welcome to Candid Campus. This is one in a series of programs designed to give the people of Oklahoma a closer look at higher education in our state. Its diversity, its timeliness, its contributions, and yes, its responsibilities. Today's program is titled The Micro World of Electronics. We're pleased to have as guest panelists Bill Lyons, head of the Electrical and Electronics Department of Oklahoma State Tech at Okmulgee, and Walt Smith, supervisor for the Numerical Control Machinist Program at Oklahoma State Tech. Well, Bill and Walt, it's good to have you on Candid Campus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me begin with a very simple question, and it relates really to the title of our program. What do you mean by the term, the micro world of electronics? Who wants to kick off on that?
In essence, that means the miniaturization of electronic components necessary to perform any type of circuit function.
And now, help me here, Bill, what do you mean by circuit function?
Well, of course, we talk about radio receivers, TV receivers, things that the general public are most familiar with. Nowadays you can carry one around in your shirt pocket. Radio is an example, with the exception of the physical. In the department also. This is a breadboarding technique that is used initially to introduce the students into what you referred to as microelectronics. One of several microcomputers that are available to the students in the department. This is a little bit more elaborate system of a microcomputer with monitor, printer.
The computer is in the middle there,
yes,
is that
it
right?
is. Yes, it is.
And the monitor just looks like a TV set.
Yes,
is that correct?
that's exactly what it is. This is a student examining the internal architecture of that microcomputer.
That's amazing to me. It looks like the old type adding machine, except it's really a computer in that very compact area.
Yes, it is.
Now, miniaturization made that possible, is that
That's
right?
exactly right.
Bill, in terms of your program, you talked about, well, your department. You have 5 programs.
Yes.
Now, what are those 5 programs?
We have 3 programs that involve the degree, 2 programs that are non-degree. Of course, these programs are the electrical electronics technology, the television electronics, and our industrial electrical maintenance.
And roughly how many people would you have enrolled in your programs?
At the present time, in all 5 programs studied, we have about 370 students.
Very good. Well, Walt, how about telling us a little about your program and your responsibility?
Dick, I'd love to. Our machine shop has two main programs. One program is a diploma or non-degree program, the industrial machinist, which takes the student 16 months to complete. Our granddaddy program, our numerical control machinist, takes the student 2 years to complete. And I also brought a few slides to show a look through our shop. Here's a picture looking down through the center of our building, showing about 2/3 of the equipment. Here's a student that is writing a program, a numerical control machinist program. He then will enter that program, as this student is, into the computer itself. And this is, of course, where my department begins to use the computer. The output that the student gets out of this computer really ends up on a machine such as we see here. There are many different types.
Now, you mean the computer is driving and guiding that machine?
Yes. The output of that computer is, it can be in form of paper tape or driving it directly from the computer. Here's another machine called a real large machining center. It mills, drills, bores, and taps, and takes the place of about 5 different machines. This is a numerical control machining lathe, handles all types of contouring problems and produces those parts which are just almost impossible to produce any other way.
Now, again, how many people are in your program?
We have approximately 140 right now.
About 140 in your program.
Yes.
When did we start getting computers being used with machinery of this type for the machine?
Well, that's real interesting because the problem arose right after World War II. And a man by the name of John Parsons in Traverse City, Michigan, really is the father of numerical control. He was given the job by the Air Force to produce templates for checking and correcting the contour on helicopter blades. And really out of that, trying to produce templates for very complex contours, as are found on these helicopter blades, the need to use a computer, which at that time was brand new also, arose, and Mr. Parsons, along with Massachusetts Institute of Technology, developed the very first numerical control machining tool. And from there, the Air Force, of course, put up the money to begin for industry to build these machines. At first, they were very large and tremendously expensive, and were found mostly just in the areas of the Air Force, the aerospace, and around 1960 is when it really hit the general manufacturing market. And from that day now, we're into our 4th generation. Bill can more explain what generations mean in the electronics industry, but we're in our 4th generation now of numerical control machine tools.
It really is, in its own right, a revolution.
It is a revolution.
In all of these areas since World War II.
It certainly is.
In visiting just a few minutes before the program started, you used the word, both of you gentlemen used the word microprocessor several times, and I'd kind of like to have someone explain, for my benefit at least, what a microprocessor is.
That better be Bill.
Okay, Bill, how about that?
Let me do better than that. Let me show you a microprocessor.
All right.
This is a microprocessor.
See if we can get a shot of that.
Been referred to quite often as the computer that's on a chip. And that's exactly what this is.
You mean there's a computer on that little...
In effect, this is the computer. From the standpoint of the central or heart of any computing system, this processor makes up that entire function. Essentially, this chip contains the control circuitry and arithmetic unit that is required in any computer. Now, it does not necessarily contain memory or timing circuits. You have to support this with a few other chips in order to have a functional operation.
Well, I'm beginning to understand your term that we started out with for the title of this program, the micro world of electronics. Let me pursue that a little bit more. How are microprocessors used today? If you could elaborate a little bit more on that. I'm sure you could talk the whole program, devote the whole program.
It would probably be easier to explain the areas where microprocessors are not being used, or at least not being thought of being used. They're in the homes already in terms of the better top quality microwave ovens. They are microprocessor controlled. It's possible, the technology is already available to use the microprocessors from the standpoint of controlling the environmental conditions in a home, monitoring temperature, humidity, lighting, any place where there is an interaction with a human in terms of a switch and to any appliance. These units can be involved in the control of those things. The video games, your automobiles. There are some models of the 1980 automobiles that contain the microprocessors in them that controls the spark, the fuel mixture, and so on. And a mechanic could better explain that than what I can.
Well, even though many of us, John Q. public, so to speak, may not be aware of it, they've already invaded our everyday life.
That's
and we find them in our
exactly right.
home and in our transport vehicles and a variety of other circumstances.
That's very true.
This is kind of an unfair question. I just can't help but think about it. I heard Walt say a minute ago that when they first introduced the electronics were very large pieces of equipment and so forth. Let's go back 20 years. How big of an apparatus would one have needed to perform that same function, 25 years?
In the electronics department, we just scrapped a unit that was about 20 years old. Essentially, that thing was contained in 21 cabinets.
21?
21 cabinets. They were about 6 foot high by about 3 foot square. Collectively, they probably represented 20 to 30,000 transistors, individual transistors. This unit right here probably contains the equivalent of somewhere between 10 and 20,000 transistors in this unit alone. This unit right here would have taken the place essentially of probably 16 to 18 of those cabinets that I just described.
16 to 18 cabinets. Now you're holding it on your knee.
That's right.
That's amazing. Well, Walt, let me ask you, how do you use the microprocessors in the world of numerical control machinery? We touched on it a little bit, but would you go into a little more detail?
Okay, sure, Nick. Of course, the miniaturization that has taken place in the electronics field has helped us because we're talking about space out on the manufacturing floor. The smaller things can be, the more machines that we can have operating, the chips are flying, so to speak. What has really happened as far as the microprocessor or the microcomputer and all of these things, which it scares me to death when I open the back of one of these cabinets, and look at all these microprocessor chips and what have you. But what it has done for us, of course, most of the numerical control is working with discrete numerical data. And as you know, as humans, we make many errors, especially working with numbers. The computer has allowed us now to give that job of mixing these numbers, adding numbers, subtracting numbers, dividing, all the mathematics required. We've given that job now to the computer. And at first we gave it to the computer and it gave it back to us, and then we did something else with it before it went to the machine tool. Now we can give those that data to the computer, and we don't have to touch it from that point on. It goes right from there to the machine tool direct. So it has really helped the programmer. It has helped engineers. They can now design products with very closer tolerances. We can build one part of a product in California and another piece of that product in Rhode Island and another piece in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and we can send all three pieces to Okmulgee, and they'll all fit together.
Good point.
It's through this, through the microprocessors, the ability to handle information in California as it's handled in Okmulgee or Stillwater or Tulsa, that has really helped the NC world grow as fast as it has. And it's growing right now approximately 35% per year. So it's fantastic.
You brought some examples of some materials here. Would you share those with us?
Yes, I have two, Nick. I brought with me for two reasons. This is a product.
You might hold those up, and perhaps our camera can focus
this
on
is
them very quickly.
The one I'm holding in my right hand is a project that would be typically done on a milling machine. It also has some holes. I hope maybe people at home can see. This one in my left hand is a contouring Product, it's a start of a trailer ball, as you can probably tell here. This to be done on conventional machining methods would take a long time and would not be nearly as accurate as it needs to be. This is a product that was part of the aerial space program. And it's a very complex part, very, very small holes, and all these holes are tapped. And here again, we're talking about this piece being made in one part of our country, and the other pieces that are assembled with this made in other manufacturing plants around the country. And at one point, they come together, and everything must fit.
Well, Walt, that's very interesting. We really appreciate your bringing those. And let me say to both you gentlemen that a feature of our Candid Campus program is a weekly visit to one of the college campuses located throughout the state. And today's Candid Campus visit is to Oklahoma City University. So let's take a few minutes and go visit the campus of Oklahoma City University.
Oklahoma City University, an independent, church-related metropolitan university entering a new era. OCU celebrated its 75th year in 1979, reflecting on a rich heritage of commitment to quality, personalized education. And in the same year, OCU enters a new era of excellence and growth under the leadership of the university's new president. Dr. Gerald Walker, a nationally recognized university administrator and a 1960 OCU graduate, was named president in June and immediately began instituting new programs, new support, and new optimism at OCU. Campus-wide renovations were highlighted by the remodeling of the Gold Star building for the OCU School of Law, which now provides one of the finest law facilities in the Southwest. And a variety of new programs have been added at OCU, a United Methodist-related university located in central Oklahoma City. An expansion of the athletic program, including comprehensive new programs for women, the formation of a new Center for Business and Professional Development, new degree programs, new student activities, and new fundraising programs highlighted the beginning of OCU's new era. OCU offers undergraduate degrees in 26 major areas in the schools of Arts and Sciences, Music and Performing Arts, and Management and Business Sciences, and 7 graduate degrees, including the Juris Doctor in Law. Classes are offered during both the day and evening to meet the needs of a wide variety of students, and include both traditional classes and a variety of innovative learning opportunities for people in all age groups from many walks of life. OCU offers cultural leadership as well, with more than 200 musical and dramatic productions each year which are acclaimed throughout the Southwest. OCU receives strong support from both the Oklahoma United Methodist Church and the Oklahoma City business community, creating a personalized environment which provides opportunities for intellectual, ethical, social, and spiritual growth, with both a respect for its heritage and a commitment to its future. Oklahoma City University moves forward into a new era of excellence.
That was an interesting visit to Oklahoma City University, and while we were visiting their campus, we had another guest join us in the studio. He is Dr. Ed Darby, Assistant Director for Academic Affairs at Oklahoma State Tech. Well, Ed, it's good to have you join us on Candid Campus.
Dick, delighted to be here.
Ed, we've had some very interesting discussion about programs that are underway at Oklahoma State Tech. And I know that recently you've had some developments at Oklahoma State Tech concerning your curriculum and accreditation, and as well as degree granting credit. Would you tell us something about that?
I surely would. Dick, we think that July the 26th was a benchmark date at Oklahoma State Tech, and that after 33 years, our function was revised, and we now have college credit curricula offering the associate degree and other academic awards. So the hallmark date, I guess, would be October 1. It began at that time.
Well, that's fine, and that's certainly good news to hear. And Now, does that affect all of your programs, Ed, or how is that structured?
That is correct. We have a total of 46 programs of study in our curricula, and of those, 25 have the associate degree, 20 the diploma, and at present, one that has a certificate of accomplishment. Associate degree programs involve 5 or 6 trimesters of work, which often we think of academic years, but this really represents 2 calendar years of very intensive study, as my associates here have been really exemplifying in the area of electronics and numerical control machinists.
Well, with that background, Bill, let me ask you, tell me something about the curriculum for the students in your program. Then I'd like to come back to Ed and get him to talk from a more general standpoint, if I could.
All right, as I indicated a while ago, we have several programs of study in the department, the largest of which, of course, is our what we call our electrical electronics technology. Now, this is a full-blown 6-trimester program study requiring, as Dr. Darby said, 2 calendar years if a student goes year-round. The students must take at least 6 courses, or one course to try within the department, plus at the present time at least 9 general ed classes taught by our general ed department to complete a program study under the E&E technology. The electrical maintenance and our television electronics degree programs are only 5 trimesters long. They're 1 trimester shorter, but they're more electrical, obviously, and TV oriented than what they are the electronics technology type, but they are 5 trimesters long.
Ed, what would you say about the curriculum of your programs in general? Do you have a basic requirement for most of your students, and how does this work?
Well, of course, we have an open door policy, Dick, and we strive to serve all of the people of the state. And but I would say that certainly those students who would look forward to the kind of program that Bill or Walt represents, we do counsel them that they do need a mathematical base, that at least they should have interest in this area. But as we move across our total curricula, we have those, as you know, having visited there several times, that are very much skill-oriented. And so there's a wide diversity. But I would emphasize that throughout our programs, that general education is indeed a very important component. And as we listen to our industrial and business advisory committees, they continue to remind us that when they need a technician, they need the total person. And so we too are involved in this kind of an academic education of providing the educational experiences that prepares this person to be responsive, not only on the job, but throughout his role as a citizen.
Very good. You raised a point that I want to follow up. You mentioned an advisory group to Oklahoma State Tech,
yes,
business leaders and so forth.
Right.
What is your relationship with the industrial and business community? How is this used? I gather it's used to help keep your curriculum current, and tell me about that.
Okay, I'm delighted to, because I often refer to these groups as our E.F. Hutton. When they talk, we listen. Advisory committees represent all of the major curricula on our campus, and they will meet at least twice each year, and oftentimes we'll have these leaders of business and industry of 10 to 15 people that will be on our campus 3 times a year. In fact, tomorrow, Bill Lyons, electronics, some 12 to 15 people throughout this region will convene on the Oklahoma State Tech campus to discuss the curriculum, to be sure that we're keeping up with what we need to do to meet the needs and to serve these students. So it's a very viable, very important aspect of our carrying on our educational mission.
Bill, what would you add to that? I think Ed covered it well, but...
Well, we rely very heavily upon the advisory committee that we have in our department. In fact, our committee's been very active for around 19 years. That's how far back that the advisory committee for the E&E department goes. And as Dr. Darby says, in our case, they do meet 3 times a year to help us with curriculum, planning, recruitment, suggestions on the type of equipment and training aids that we should have in any program of study.
Good. What about job opportunities? What's the demand for your graduates?
Speaking from the standpoint of the electronics department, I could have placed 10 times more students, our last graduating group, than what we had available.
I joke with Bill about this. I think we ought to say 9.3 or 10.7 as technicians. 10 to 1 sounds braggadocious, Dick, but truly, we are truly unable to serve the demands for this kind of technical talent today. We expect the forecast of our advisory committees are simply put more technicians in the pipeline. Well, of course, we say, well, help us recruit more students to put those technicians in the pipeline. But it is not an exaggeration of what Bill is saying, and this is not just unique to the electronics program. It's a great seller's market for this graduate.
Very good. Well, there's no question that there's a demand for the highly trained technician in today's society, and some of the slides that we saw earlier certainly demonstrate that. Let me ask you this. What do you see in the future in terms of your programs? What are the trends of the future? We don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to get your counsel on this. Bill, let me start in your specific area.
The biggest demand that I see that our technicians must have is a greater understanding of just what we've been talking about today, the microprocessors, how to program these, how to interface these with outside world devices. The demands of the industry are rising, is continuing to rise in this particular direction.
What do you see for the future, Ed?
Well, I'd like to talk in more general terms. I certainly agree with Bill. Technology is manifolding. It's increasing as the sphere increases in surface area, and you know, it's hard to describe. It's hard for us to keep abreast of the many demands. I'd like to suggest that in addition of what we've been doing, we're going to need to do more of that. That I think Oklahoma State Tech has another mission, and that's probably to do more in serving the present employees in business and industry. And we're doing this, and if we have a minute, I'd like for Bill to talk about the services that his department is providing to some of our Oklahoma companies, Amoco and Arco and these kind, in terms of retraining, uptraining, and etc.
Yeah.
Ed, our time is about to run out. We're just going to have another program, and I'm really sorry that we've had such a shortage of time, really, when we were just getting warmed up. So to you, Bill, and to you, Ed, and to Walt, who was with us a little earlier, I want to thank you so much for taking time from very busy schedules to be with us. Certainly your comments have been most interesting, and we deeply appreciate your being here. I would like to extend an invitation to our viewing audience to send us their comments on Candid Campus. If you have suggestions or topics you would like discussed, please let us know by writing this address: Hieco, 4400 North Lincoln, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73105. Well, once again, to you gentlemen, Ed and Bill, thanks for being with us. And to our viewing audience, we certainly hope that you will join us next week on Candid Campus. Thank you.
Candid Campus is presented under joint sponsorship by the Higher Education Alumni Council of Oklahoma and the Oklahoma College Public Relations Association. This is the Oklahoma State University Educational Television Services.